this video is a continuation from the previous. So one of the things we want to talk about is called linear perspective. If you look at art before Filippo Brunelleschi realized that work needed to incorporate linear perspective, you're going to see a huge difference. And I'll show you here in a sec. Show you an example. Okay, this is how artists used to draw before Brunelleschi. And you see those people are not going to fit in that building because they are bigger than the door. And there's a whole lot going on here that's just off. But after he said things that go back in space get smaller, they recede to a vanishing point. Once he began to realize that, paintings began to look more realistic. Well, realistic ones anyway. And so let's look at this. So a vanishing point is the location where parallel lines in a work or a photo or reality converge on the horizon. And so when you look at this, where do the lines converge? Where's that vanishing point? It's there. So we just take these lines and we draw them back to the horizon. My cursor's not working with me. We draw back to the horizon until they all overlap, and that's where our vanishing point is. So we can work with 1 point, 2 point, and 3 point perspectives when we are drawing sketches of residences or anything. The eye is, if you want to draw and communicate well and properly and accurately, you want to follow this process. Now, I'm going to post these PowerPoints for you all to go through slowly and in your own time. But essentially, this walks you through the steps. Draw a horizon line, add a vanishing point, draw these boxes, and then begin to use their shapes to draw lines back to the vanishing point. And those are called converging lines or orthogonal lines. And then we would need to cut them off based on how deep they are, right? So we could measure along this line the depth of the box to know where to cut the box off. And we do it for all of them. And then we erase the construction lines, and that is the end result. That is a 1 point perspective. Now, and you see that the drawings of these boxes, they're all different because they all reside in different places in space. If you move them around, they wouldn't look like that anymore. That location is unique to that perspective. There's a beautiful 1 point perspective drawing of a building. And these are the steps for how to do a 1 point perspective. Actually, this is 2 point. Excuse me. I sometimes copy titles and miss fix that. I love the way they've set this up. I can make these changes, and these changes, because I'm recording these videos before you guys start the class, you guys will get the PowerPoints corrected because it's all online, it's all electronic. I love that. Okay, so now we have two. We have two vanishing points. And we're going to add our perpendicular lines vertically. And then we're going to start connecting them to our vanishing points. And it was fun doing this in PowerPoint. And then in the end, we erase the construction lines. Or you could put another piece of paper over it and draw just with the lines that you want to keep. And now you've got your 2 point perspective. And here is an example of an interior room. And we're going to start adding in furniture and features. And we do it with our 2 point perspective. And it's showing you the sketch. And then, once those lines are gone, and then the final drawing. And there is 3 point perspective. And this is 3 point perspective. You have 3 vanishing points. 2 will be along the horizon, and 1 will be somewhere else in space, not on the horizon. And it allows you to create this 3 point perspective. Just a quick word about architectural lettering. That video will, someone else's video, pre-recorded to show you how to draw like an architect. When I was a student, we had to take giant sheets of paper, create these lines, guidelines, and letter over and over and over until we filled the whole sheet. That was an assignment. And so when you all see anything that I or anyone else in this industry has drawn, you will see that we letter just like that. You want to practice. You want to have that lettering. It's just a good communication tool to be able to, for your writing to be legible. And so the last thing I want to talk about in this lecture series is visualization skills. And I'm going to allow you all to go through this in your own time. But it's just an overview that you need to be able to visualize. And as we talked about when we did the previous quiz on visualization skills, if you don't have them, you can build them. If you have them, you can improve and strengthen them. And so in order to develop those, there are things that you can do. One of those is by sketching, which is why this is part of my sketching lecture. As you start to look at objects and start to sketch, try to understand the rules by making the forms. And you can see in the first image here, they started with a circle and then they evolved it into a sphere based on understanding perspective and looking at some spheres. And then the same thing here with boxes from squares and cylinders from also two circles, right? And then 3Ds from ellipses. And when then you look at the different shapes down here, they're all forms that have been derived out of basic forms. So what happens is if you reduce any complex object to its most basic shapes and forms, and draw those first as the foundation, as the bones, and then draw over it with the skin, your drawings are going to be more realistic. The more you sketch, the better you get. And then when you start to try to find solutions and sketches when you're working with your clients, not only is it impressive to them and they trust you more, but it really helps you communicate. Sketching is a very, very important communication tool with our clients and with each other. I can't tell you how many times I'm trying to explain something to somebody, I immediately start pulling out paper and drawing because a picture truly is worth 1,000 words. And so it's important for you all to learn how to visualize. It's all important for you to learn how to sketch, and it's important for you to learn how to bring them all together. And so because this is the last lecture series in module 1, that's my goal right now, is to bring all this together so that you can all see and understand why it's important for you all to practice. We will not get together and draw together. However, you may want to with your friends or your peers. You may want to do that. You don't have to. You can just go out on your own and start sketching. But the best way to learn how to sketch, the best way to learn how to visualize, is to sketch. It's just to do it. No matter how bad it is, you don't have to show it to anybody. You don't have to turn it in for a grade. Just do it. Keep doing it. Get sketchbooks. Sketch in them. Write in them. You can always rip out the page and throw it away. But the more you do it, the better you will be at learning how to sketch, but also you will start to improve your visualization skills. Now, obviously in the beginning, when you're drawing basic shapes, it's a little boring, but over time, you're going to start to create sketches of buildings with it. And I just said all this. I sometimes get ahead of myself. And I have suggested you all do this with just in general with analyzing things. Just go out there and start to analyze and look at things, but also now start sketching them. And you can see the horse was broken down into basic three-dimensional forms such as spheres and cones. And if you start with those, then you can start to draw over them and begin to add more and more detail. And the more you sketch And the more you sketch the same thing, the more you observe, the better you get at drawing. And you can see this sketch of the horse now relates to where we started with our different orthographic projections. We got the front view, the side view, the top view, the back view. I don't see the underside view, but the underside's not that much different than the top view, right? And so now we're starting to form a vocabulary. And in this case, it's a horse, but we're going to work more with buildings. When I was an art student, for some reason, I got really good at drawing eyes. And I don't remember why, other than I just started drawing eyes. And I got really, really good at it. And I started drawing them everywhere. And it came through practice. I would draw and it would be bad. And I would look at it, I would analyze it, I would fix it. I would do another one. And then I would do another one. And eventually I got really, really good at it. And people started asking me to draw eyes for them. And then I apologize whoever had to clean the drawings of eyes I did on the desk. But in pencil, I would draw eyes on a desk. And it got to where my classmates, for whatever reason, started drawing eyes too. And it sort of became this thing. And so there were eyes, drawings of eyes everywhere. And it sort of became this kind of, interesting, mysterious thing going on. And I never tried to start something. I never tried to create this trend. It's just, that's what happens. That's what evolves out of practice. You start working on this until you perfect something, and then other people see it and they emulate it. And that's how you become a trend. Okay, so when you're drawing, right, so one of the things to do is to take breaks in between, right, drawing it, and then take a break and then draw it again from memory. And, this, as a sketch shows it, in the beginning, the drawing's not so good. But over time, as you draw from memory and then look at the object and go back and forth, you just get better until eventually you can draw eyes or horses or buildings. And so you just want to refresh your memory from time to time by saying, hey, I want to sketch this again. And eventually it becomes, your unconscious brain knows how to do it. Once you get that stuff in your unconscious brain, in your unconscious memory, it becomes more permanent and you become better at it. And so the thing to keep in mind is that your brain hates wasting space. So you have to practice. If you want to retain something, you have to periodically practice or it will flush it away. Okay, and those are all my references used in this. Okay, and so I want to say that all this now, this is the end of Module 1. That's not even a pretty picture, but all this Module 1 information is a lot and it's overwhelming. And so I've just told you the key in visualization and in sketching is practice. Well, it's the same thing here. Watch the videos more than once and then use the information from that video to draw something. And now it's going to all come together and reinforce itself. Practice, play around, try different materials. I literally have everything you can imagine myself. Watercolors, paints, pens, color pens, brush pens. And I use them in my sketchbooks almost every day. And I would recommend you do it every day. And I try different things. I practice with different techniques. I sketch things and I get better and better and better. And it gets to where I've now honed my craft to the point that I'm really good at it. I can do a really good job drawing. And so I'm going to teach you guys how to draw. And then after that, we will move into Module 2. So practice does not make you perfect, but it does make you better. Okay, so we're going to stop here and I'll see you in the final video in Module 1.